Please help me welcome our speaker, Joshua Blechy. Joshua is the Learning Solutions Engineer here at ELB, and he'll be giving us a peek under the hood of our new technology, Rehearsal Roleplay. So, Joshua, this session is all yours.
Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it. And welcome everybody, and thank you for coming today. Yeah, so happy to kind of be able to show you what we have in store for you. So this is just kind of put this into context for actually before I get going too far here, I actually do have a question for all of you. So with this being a new like rehearsal functionality, I'm kind of curious who here is already using rehearsal. So if you wouldn't mind responding to that poll that just popped up for you. Um, and while I get, my screen all figured out. Okay, perfect. And Casey will. Okay, yeah, if you're using something similar to rehearsal as well, that would be good to know. Um, I guess we could have put that as an option and we didn't, but okay. That's good to know for the past. Or for the future, not for the past. That's you can't really go back and change anything. Uh, so that's good to know for the future as we ask these questions. But yeah, if you're using something similar to rehearsal as well, kind of nice to know that in the chat as well. Because obviously, a lot of people comparison shop, so I just want to kind of see there. So let's see the results here. Okay, several of you are not using, well, most of you aren't using rehearsal right now. So um, that's actually pretty nice that we're dealing with some people that aren't familiar here. So for those of you that are, this will be just additional functionality that we can, kind of talk to you about, and then you can see if you want to have turned on for your um, platform as well. So just kind of putting this out there as far as like, okay, what is rehearsal? Where does this fit in? So rehearsal is a video coaching and practice platform. And for the last, I'm actually not entirely sure how long, but that experience for rehearsal has been kind of an asynchronous back and forth. Basically, I'll just kind of show you here real briefly, but basically a learner responds to an assignment that's, in the representation of a video. And then as they send that response on, either AI or a mentor can then provide feedback to them and have them try it again. Um, and then the mentor provides feedback and you go back and forth that way as well. And so that's been kind of the core experience behind rehearsal within the, just overall that experience. And so what role play is adding to this is, with the advent of, AI coming into uh, very big, prominence lately, this is more of a conversation with an AI avatar. So I'm going to show you what this experience is like from a learner perspective first, and then we'll kind of walk through how these are built here. So let me go ahead and I'm going to shut off my camera here in Zoom. You'll see me in just a second here within rehearsal, um, but we'll just kind of go through this. So essentially what happens here is, again, versus going back and forth asynchronously, what you're doing with rehearsal role play is you're now going to be going through a session where you're going to interact with an AI back and forth conversationally. So this is going to be very much, a live conversation with someone. Now, in this case, like as we get into our session here, we're presented with some details to give us some background information, such as, what's the situation, what challenges are we trying to address, and then we'll also be given some goals over here. You do have the option to include an instructional video as well. I won't watch that. We won't watch that right now, but you do have that option to include that if you'd like to provide more context. Uh, Now, as you'll see as we get into the actual experience here, this description as well as these goals are going to inform some of the feedback that we receive in real time as we go through the rehearsal, the role play here. And so I'm going to go ahead and start our session here and just kind of note, I'm not going to like obviously maybe some of you have read through this here on screen, but just so that you're aware. So this particular coaching simulation that we're doing here is going to be with an employee that's somewhat underperforming right now, but they're a very tenured employee. And so we're trying to address that need there. And so we're now brought into our like practice space here for the session. And we have some configuration we can do on this before we start, or even while we're doing the role play here. So for me, what I have pulled up by default is going to be what's known as our insights, and our goals pulled up. So our goals, you saw them on the previous like preview screen here, but as we come into the actual session here, those are pulled up here on the right for us. Again, these goals are what we're going to receive feedback towards, and so it's very important that we keep these in mind as we go through the actual like role play situation here. And so that's why I keep those pulled up myself. And then insights, you'll see how this works as we get into the actual experience here, but you'll see that it's going to show a transcript of the what the AI avatar is saying back to us, as well as provide feedback to us again in real time as the conversation is flowing. Now, there are some other options down here to do like a history, which will just actually show the back and forth between the conversation. And I'll pop that up as we have actual content in it so you can see what that looks like. But then you can also just pull up the description, which was again from the previous screen, just provide helps provide con context there. So let me go ahead and start the session, and we can then kind of talk through how this experience transpires. So I'm going to go ahead and hit record here. So this is still somewhat turn-based, where I'm going to start the conversation, Alex will respond, and we'll go back and forth that way. So I'll go ahead and start the conversation here. Hey, Alex, can we talk for a minute?
Sure, we can talk. What's on your mind?
Were you all able to hear, Casey, can you tell me if that sound came through for everyone?
Yep. Yep. Sounds
Okay,
good.
perfect. Okay. So thank you for verifying in the chat as well. So as you can see, okay, we started here. We were already receiving some feedback here. So, hey, great. Start by initiating the conversation in a friendly manner. Remember to maintain supportive tone to help Alex feel comfortable and open to discussing the performance. So let me go ahead and hit the recording again. Uh, yeah, Alex, I just wanted to talk to you about your performance lately. We've just been noticing a decrease in your call volume and just want to check in with you about what might be transpiring and see how we can help.
I appreciate you checking in, but honestly, I've been doing this job for 10 years and I know how to handle calls. The targets seem a bit unrealistic given the kind of complex issues I often deal with. Plus, I've had some not so great experiences with feedback in the past, so I'm a bit skeptical about how this will go.
Okay, so now we've done kind of two back and forths here. You can kind of see we're receiving some additional feedback here. You're doing well by approaching the conversation with empathy and willingness to help. Try to acknowledge Alex's experience and ask open-ended questions to understand their perspective better. This can help in building rapport and trust. Now, what I'll show you here now is like, okay, our history. We're seeing that back and forth there. So if you did want to pull this up, you can. The feedback even shows up there for you. So that way you can take a look at those if you want to. I still prefer this, but you have some other flexibility there. And we'll do a couple more back and forths just to get a little bit more going here. So we'll see how we can apply this feedback that we received. Yeah, Alex, I do realize that you've been with us for a very long time, and that's actually part of the reason why we're concerned is because you're typically one of our top performers. So I'm just kind of curious what complex issues you're running into that maybe we can help address and help bring your performance back up.
Well, a lot of the calls I get are from customers with really complicated issues that take time to resolve. It's not just about the number of calls, but making sure each customer leaves satisfied. I feel like the pressure to hit these numbers sometimes compromises the quality of service I can provide. Plus, with the changes in management, it's been hard to adjust to new expectations and methods.
Yeah, Alex, I can totally understand that. Yeah, as you've been changing managers, it's been hard to keep up with those and the expectations that are the present for you. But maybe there's some way we can help you with some of these complex issues. Would it help to have like a decision tree on like when you should escalate those to another team?
A decision tree could be helpful, I suppose. It might streamline some of the decision making process and help me focus on the calls that I can resolve more quickly. I just want to make sure that we're not sacrificing the quality of service for the sake of numbers. If we can find a balance, I'm open to trying it out.
So I would probably keep this one going a little bit longer to go through the entire experience, but just due to time today, I am going to go ahead and end that session for us so that we can get into the other parts of the platform here. So as we look at the wrap up here, the AI is going to give us some analysis here on um, a few different aspects. So one of those being our our session goals here, and how well we've achieved those. So it's going to say whether we've met something, not met something, um, or if we partially met something. So based off the expectations that it's able to see from the description and other details that it's provided. And we'll get into how that's all built here in a little bit. Uh, but we're seeing that it's providing us very detailed feedback as well that is corresponding to the actual scenario. So this isn't just generic feedback that it's doing. So in this case, it said, okay, you suggest for the second goal that I didn't quite meet, it says, you suggested a decision tree to help with complex issues, which Alex was open to, but you could have used more specific data to illustrate the benefits of the improved performance. And so it's giving me some information that I can then take into other practices. And we can even look here on the right. We have some performance metrics. The performance metrics here are set by the platform itself. So these are more generic things that it's looking for versus the very specific session goals that are here. But again, the feedback is very specific to the scenario and what we just saw there. Now, as I wanted to see how I performed over time as a learner, I have that ability as well within the platform to look at my progress on a particular session here. So this is one that I actually do quite often. And so I've done this about 31 times in the last 30 days. And you can see here, how my goal achievement um, might transpire here. So here's one where I actually met all my goals. The rest of these, it seems like lately I've only been meeting two out of the three or partially meeting one, or maybe not meeting them at all here in the middle. That's where these darker colors represent. And then I can look at each goal individually and see which areas I'm struggling with. So that one in the middle that I actually struggled with this time, turns out that's one I apparently struggled with quite a bit because out of the 31 times that I've done this particular session, I've only ever met that goal four times, which is pretty low. So that's an area where I could start to see improvement. And then I can also look at some other analytics around my session here, and as well as the response criteria that we saw earlier, that performance criteria, and areas there where I could uh, do better. So for instance, like call control and next steps here, it's telling me is a focus area because it's a 35% success rate. And if you look down here, I've only met it 77 out of 31 times. Um, and so with that being said, um, that's an area where I could definitely focus on before, as I, go and do these other sessions. Now, what's interesting too is just like looking across different environments that I've done role plays with, that call control and next steps actually ends up being an area that I struggle with quite a bit across different experiences. So that's definitely an area where I personally could focus on things. And then along with that, you can look back at your full history. So you can kind of think of this as like essentially your almost like your transcript of your different sessions here. So as a learner, I can go back and review like the one I did today here directly and see, okay, here was my feedback. If I wanted to look at the details of the entire session, I can look at, again, the description as well as the timeline of the conversation or a transcript of the conversation if I wanted to. With the timeline, you can actually look at the videos of yourself and what you said there to kind of validate, what was said there. And so that gives you a lot of different like clarity from an individual standpoint about where your performance needs to improve, and so you can start kind of coaching yourself. That's been one of the kind of core tenets of rehearsal from the get-go is that people are going to in some ways be their own worst critic, and so they're going to see this information and want to improve naturally because of that. And so that's, what this is helping us enable them to do that by making this all, very transparent to them from the get-go here. Now, from a leadership standpoint, from a manager standpoint, you can also see this reporting by diving into the manager dashboard here. And you can look at your data in kind of two different ways, either by the different role play environments, which are the different scenarios that you're going to build that people are going to interact with, or you can look at it by a learner as well. And so, for instance, here, if I just kind of dive into this call center performance coaching scenario, I can see that over the last 30 days, there's been 23 total sessions by three different people, and the average goal achievement has been about 60%. And then I can look down here to see, okay, we've had three people that are our top performers. Looks like we've only had three people go through it anyways. And you can see where they rank. And fortunately, I'm number three out of the three, so I probably could do a bit more there. So, but then we can look at the individuals themselves and say, okay, myself here as Joshua here, I've completed 22 sessions. My best score was 100%, but my average score is still roughly around 60. Um, and so I can take a look here and then see that same information that we saw on the learner side here as a manager to see this information to see, okay, I can now see that Josh has only hit that middle goal there 4 out of 21 times. Okay, maybe that's an area I need to follow up with him on. And then I can look down at the different sessions as well and dive into those to see, okay, here's the feedback that was given. I can look at the details of the scenario again, session again, and kind of dive all the way through that as a manager. So like you have full transparency on your end as well there too. So that becomes very valuable for again, like helping understand like decision making that you might need to do, maybe areas where you need to do and enhance training, those types of things there as well. So I'm going to pause there for a second to see if Casey, was there any questions that popped up in the Q&A panel?
Yeah, actually, there are several, and one that's kind of related to the metrics
Okay.
that popped up a few times just now. Um, are the performance metrics the same for every type of session, or is there any variability there?
So those are currently going to be the same across all the environments and sessions that you do. So they're set by the platform itself. However, we have had many requests during our like from customers that have access to this already and have played around with it to be able to customize that, and our team is working on that. So in the future, you will be able to customize that here down the road in the next couple of months.
Cool. And another question we got, is the video of you analyzing your facial expressions as well? And how is that used by AI?
That's a great question. So, one of the key tenets behind rehearsal is we're trying to keep everyone as secure as possible in this interaction. And so, although we capture the video, we don't actually process that through the AI. So, we're not going to pick up on facial expressions, anything like that. We've had some experience with biometrics like that in the past where we haven't been happy with the results. It's been a bit, more biased than we like it to see in things. And so what we've landed on for rehearsal, for role play, as well as the core rehearsal side, anything AI driven there, is we purely just process the transcript of the speech through the AI. So it's just analyzing the words that are said. So that helps in a couple of different ways. Number one, your voice is a biometric. And so we don't expose that to the AI. We don't process that through. We just process your words. That also leads to like performance enhancements and makes it faster on the return and things as well. But for the most part, that was done for security purposes to keep everyone safe and keep your data, a more, you know, with the AI not being having access to again that biometric type data, which would also include your facial expressions and things too when you really get down to it. Uh, we have seen technology out there that does do that type of analysis, and we've looked into it, but for the moment, we don't plan to implement anything that could recognize a facial expression.
Okay, awesome. And going back through the Q&A, I just wanted to make sure to remind everyone, please place your questions in the Q&A section. I'm seeing some good ones in the chat, but I want to prioritize the Q&A section. So please drop them in there. Another good one we got was, what are the instructional design theories that support your use of feedback and frequency, like goals, things like that?
Um, that's a great question that I don't know that I have a great answer for. To be honest with you, there is a report that we use to kind of inform how we developed role play. So that's potentially something we could share after the call to kind of go with the instructional backing behind that. We'll get that from our product manager and send that along. But there was some feedback around that, or some influence from that area. Because really the idea here being is that you're trying to get people to practice on their own, and that whole idea of practice makes perfect or practice makes permanent really is what you're trying to facilitate. And so that's really the idea, and that feedback kind of guiding you along the entire time is really meant to, help you make, decisions and adjust your approach as you're going through it so that you're kind of making constant, development and progress in that manner as well.
We got another good one from Dan, which is really sort of um, answered a bit within the chat section, but can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about how effective rehearsal is for training salespeople to practice calls?
Yeah. So rehearsals, like number one use case, number one market that we sell into is sales enablement departments. And so it's very effective for that because again, it gets you that ability to practice in a safe environment before you actually go practice on a customer. And so therefore you're learning things, you're practicing them um, in a realistic situation without the consequences of potentially like losing that customer or things. Now, again, that still requires that people, obviously put in the effort to make that practice work for them as well. Because obviously, we're under no illusion that just by talking to an AI, you're going to improve a skill. You really have to also commit to improving yourself as well, because that's the only way that that's going to really help you make that determination there or make that improvement. But it is very effective. We have a number of sales organizations that use it and swear by it, and have been using it for many years on their sales team. And I think obviously the longevity of the contracts really tells us a lot about how effective it is for them, just because they wouldn't keep renewing a tool if it was not going to benefit their bottom line in some way.
Another good question we got was in your example, Alex was fairly level in tone.
Hmm.
Are you able to simulate an angry or frustrated customer? Yeah.
The Yeah, a lot of that's going to depend on how you have the customer or that persona set up on the back end of the platform, and the instructions that you're given, which we'll get into in here in just a second. Um, and so, yeah, Alex, in this time, like she's fairly compliant and things. I'll share this with you, even though our product manager may not love me sharing this right now, but I don't know if he's on the call or not. He can talk to me later. But we are experimenting with something in our staging environment right now where we're actually updating the model that we're using on the back end. And I was playing with that last night. I actually got distracted from prep for this webinar uh, uh, by doing that. And that other version on our staging environment has the same instructions as this avatar does. I did not alter anything, but the difficulty of that scenario ratcheted up very, very abruptly to the point where she was not having it. She was not having any of my attempts to help her and things. So, she was much less compliant than we saw here today, and really actually made me think about my approach in a completely different manner. So, we're still testing that. That's obviously something that we want to make sure is more nailed down before we release it to the product. But you'll definitely like you can definitely see that there could be some changes coming. Yeah, I see some folks laughing in the chat. Yeah, that's the appropriate response. It was a very interesting day because it was calling me out on stuff too. It was rather a rather interesting like kind of experience. So like you'll see that change as the platform develops and grows. You'll be able to see some different effect some different responses and things.
Very cool. Um, Another question we got, let me see. Can the avatar's conversation sync with movement to make it more like a live conversation?
Oh, you're talking about so that is just going to be like a picture right there of the avatar. We've experimented with like the video avatars and things. There's a couple things where we're not quite happy with that technology quite yet before we put it in there. So we're kind of taking an approach with this tool of like taking baby steps and making sure that we're doing this the right way. And so you could see us add video avatars later on, but right now, yeah, it's just an image.
creates the role plays? Can anyone, or do you just get the ones that come with the platform?
No, anybody can create those. And we'll show you how in just a second.
Another one. And Joshua, let me know if you want to pause on questions and come back because there are several.
Are there still
Um,
so
there are many more. Maybe just one more for now, and then we can come back.
yeah, let's do one more and then yeah, we'll come back to it in a little bit here.
Okay. Francisco was asking, are there hints on how to continue the conversation, or can you make something like that optional?
So those are currently like again that feedback is going to pop up for you each time. If that's something you're interested in making optional, um, we haven't heard that feedback before, but we're welcome to consider it as, an optional thing in the future if that's something people are interested in having, But right now it is going to show up each time for you.
Okay, we'll pause there on questions and then
Okay,
come back.
perfect. So we're going to get into how we're going to build these because like there's a couple questions around that. So like that's actually a pretty good segue into this next portion of the demonstration here. So uh, we'll get into what we call the environments tab next. So the environments are what's actually driving this scenario. So this is the setup that you're creating, and we'll create one here live so you can see how quickly it works here. But I'll just kind of show you the one that we've been using already here as an example. So I'm going to go ahead and actually unpublish this real fast, and that way we can kind of see everything a little bit better. So as you're creating this, what you're doing is you're essentially setting up, some basic information for it. You're giving it the introduction, you're giving it the description, but like you'll notice, like this is all just, text, and that you're putting in here as instructions, as description for the avatar and for the learner here. You're putting in session goals, you're creating the avatar and the instructions for the avatar here, and you'll notice that there's the ability to auto draft here. We'll see that in just a second on how that all works. But it's a fairly straightforward process. Doesn't take very long to actually produce, and so that's why I think we'll just kind of show you how to do that right now. So let me go back to our main environments page here, and we'll just create one. Now, before I just like start creating one here, I do actually have 4 different options available to create. So I already have my descriptions built out for these, as well as some cover images and things like that for them. So Casey, if you wouldn't mind popping up that other poll here, I'm just kind of at some point I'm going to build all 4 of these. I'm just curious which one you guys would like me to see me build, and if we have time, we'll interact with it again just to see how well it goes. But um, so if you want to just pick there's 4 different ones, very different situations. You have a QSR employee that has bad attendance, a patient that's refusing to take their prescribed medication, a customer with a pricing objection, or coaching an employee that was passed over for a promotion. So you can see like the rehearsal can be used for various different use cases. So it's not just a sales tool. It's really for any like conversation that you might be having. And the winner is a customer. Oh, it's actually fairly evenly split between those two, but we're going to use the customer with a pricing objection here. Okay. So go ahead and do that one. So we'll call this one customer with pricing objection. Now, first thing we do is I'm going to upload a little cover image here. I know it says it's optional, but it makes the platform look a little pretty. So we're going to go ahead and uh, do that here. There we go. And yes, I did generate these images with AI. Just use Gemini to produce them, so you can actually get some pretty interesting results. It's a little cartoony, but it works for us today. For our category here, so categories are one thing where you'll notice they'll be in the settings. You can set these up to be whatever you'd like to be. I'm gonna put this in the sales name category for now. Difficulty here, you get to determine the difficulty of the scenario. So this is not something AI is determining for you. So if you feel like this is foundational, intermediate, or advanced, I typically keep things at around intermediate if I'm not sure. So then we'll set a time limit here. We'll give them 10 minutes for this. Right now, you'll notice that there is this kind of blank area here. We are working on the ability to include source materials. So that's going to be things like talk tracks, scripts, other documentation that you want to have be referenceable by the AI. That's going to be coming here soon. It's not quite there yet, so we're not going to throw that in there right now. I do have a video I will upload to this. Yeah, price objection. Um, we won't again worry about too much about watching this video. This is purely a just a little placeholder thing here that was created with our AI toolkit avatar generator. And now we'll go ahead and put in our description. Now here you want to be like, fairly detailed as you can be here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in some pretty decent information there that I'm just going to copy over from a document that I had set up. Um, so like in this case, this situation, I'll just kind of read you the top portion here. It's like you're a shift manager at a quick service restaurant. One of your team members, Casey, sorry, Casey, I did not realize that was the name of this person. It's a C, not a K, so we're good there. Has been late to their shift 4 times. Uh, and over the past 3 weeks, while Casey is a capable employee, when they're present, the tardiness is creating operational problems. You're short-staffed during rushes, other team members have to cover, and it's starting to affect your team morale. So it's like you need to address this challenge with them. And then I do like put in like, okay, here's the company policy for context. Here's the learning objectives. We'll go ahead and format that a little bit better here. Um, and you have some options here within the editor here. Like you can actually like do full markdown if you know that how to use that as well to style this, or you have this kind of WYSIWYG editor too, which is what I'm using here. Makes a little more sense to me. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pull out some of these extra returns that are in here real fast. Now I did put in like this, like, okay, what does good look like as well here? So what I'm going to do is actually turn this criteria here into my goals as well. That's generally what I do is I'll either do like um, the learning objectives, or if, this criteria here, I'll add these as my goals. So like in this case, I have 6 different ones that I'll go ahead and throw in here real fast. While I'm doing this here. And this is not the most exciting thing to watch somebody do, just, copy and paste here. So please just bear with me here for a second. If I had like fun background music, it might be a little bit more enjoyable, but instead I'll just kind of ramble a little bit here for us as we get the last one in place. Okay. So now we have our goals, we have our description there. Our video's now been uploaded to the platform here. You'll notice that it does transcribe that video, so you can see that what that transcription says there. I'm now going to set up our AI character here. So we know the name here is supposed to be Casey with a C. We'll be very distinctive in putting that C there. And we'll just kind of explain this as a restaurant employee. So now we get to kind of configure the appearance um, and voice here. So we'll go ahead and select a picture. We are going to also give you the ability to upload it. That's currently not in there, but that will be here soon. We'll go ahead and use this as Casey there. Um, and then our voices, we have a variety of different options for you. And you can see actually a preview of those. You just click play down here.
Hello, I'm ready for our practice session.
And we do have a couple new ones that we just added. I think Crest here was our newer one.
Hello, I'm ready for our practice session.
So we'll go ahead and use that one for now. And then you can set the language as well. So Rehearsal does support more than just English as far as the interaction goes. So as you like select a different language here, you see the supported list of supported languages there. Um, you will be able to translate the interface into that language, and then the interaction between the two people will be in that language. What you want to be sure to do, though, is build your content for that scenario in that language as well. So that way it's all going to match up and be there. So some multilingual support is in there for those of you that are internationally based. Now for the AI instructions, I do technically have some already pre-worked statements. I didn't really like them very much though. So I am actually just going to use the auto draft function here. So we'll see what it says here. So what it's doing is it's going to take into consideration like all the information I've already input, so the description, the goals, and other things that it wants to throw in there, and then it's going to produce this little draft for us. So since I didn't have anything in here, we'll go ahead and hit replace. And you see the instructions here. It says you're Casey, a team member at a quick service restaurant. You've been late to your shift 4 times in the last 3 weeks. While you are a capable employee when present, your tardiness is causing operational issues for the team. And then it starts giving her like tone and personality. Um, so she's gonna be friendly and approachable, but slightly defensive, but open to discussing the issues, but going to be off, but may offer excuses or explanations. And then it goes into other stuff there for her and like how we're gonna wrap that all up. And that's really all that we need to do for this for now. And so like you have the option here of making this, I recommend just keeping it public so that everyone can see it. You do have the option to do personal scenarios as well, but those are only going to be seen by you. So I'll go ahead and publish this. So now it will be available to everyone. Now up here at the top, you'll notice a couple of things. So to distribute this to your team, you have essentially 3 different ways to do this. You can have them just log into rehearsal and come over to roleplay like I did today and access it that way and then see that dashboard of all the different options that they have. That's one way to do it. And then they can explore that catalog of all the different sessions, which I'll show you again here in just a second. But you can also share a link directly to this scenario, um, which will take them right to that like intro screen where it had like the video and the description and the goals on it. Um, the uh, the one thing to kind of keep in mind is like the user will have to have a, a user set up in rehearsal, so they will have to have an account there that they'll be able to log into, but at least that gives them a link to that scenario directly to be able to access it. Then the other option that's included here is you do have the ability to export this as a SCORM package. So into SCORM 1.2 or 2004 to have that then be live on your LMS. And so you can pick whatever option you want there. You can enable grading on this too. And you might have noticed this in the manager dashboard. There is a grade represented there, a numerical grade, where, if they hit a certain number of goals, it's going to be 100%, 85%, whatever it might be. So you can set that passing threshold, which will then be, the passing threshold on the LMS. And then you can export that. It will live on your LMS. Now, a couple things with this too. Um, if you have SSO configured on both rehearsal and your LMS, and it shares the same IDP in that sense, it will pass through that credentials and log them directly into rehearsal that way once they access that SCORM file. Otherwise, when they get to that SCORM package, they will be asked to log in if that SSO is not configured. So just kind of note that's kind of the experience that you had. Um, let's see, to be able to do that. So I'm going to take us back to our sessions here and just, kind of come to find this one here. So pricing customer objection. So like we're good there. Wait, I completely put in the wrong situation here, didn't I? Because this is supposed to be the pricing objection one, and I put in the QSR one. Uh, that is entirely my fault, folks. I will adjust that title. So apologies. This is the QSR one, not the one that everyone selected. I just apparently did not select the right tab in my document over here. That is completely my bad. Um, but let's see how this one turned out regardless here. Let's go ahead and start the practice um, and see how we do. So let's see here if I can. Oh, let me turn off my camera here and zoom real fast. And then we'll go ahead and just refresh this here. There we go. Oh. Okay, perfect. Go ahead and begin our session. Hey, Casey, can I speak with you for a minute?
Sure, what's up?
Hey, we've been noticing that you're been late a few times in the last 3 weeks. I think we're at four tardies. That's, a little bit more than what we want to see from you. What's been going on? What can we, you know, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this for you.
I appreciate you bringing this up. I've been having some trouble with my car lately, and the bus schedule doesn't always align with my shift times. It's been a bit of a struggle to get here on time, but I'm trying to sort it out.
Okay, I totally understand those are big challenges. Obviously, your car being broken down, and the bus schedule not quite aligning with it. Do you think you maybe could plan a little bit better to get here on time with that bus schedule?
I can definitely try to plan better. Maybe I can look into catching an earlier bus, even if it means getting here a bit early. I really want to make sure I'm not causing any issues for the team.
So I think we'll go ahead and just end that there, just as that little preview, just because I know there's plenty of questions that we still want to get to here. Um, but that one seems pretty good. There's probably a little bit of tweaking I would do to that persona a bit, um, but it feels like we're pretty good there. That scenario does seem like an easier one, so maybe I'd actually move that down to a more foundational type scenario versus being intermediate. So obviously you can see like you can make tweaks to this and it will just kind of automatically update as you're going through, which is pretty powerful there as well. To just kind of keep that very, very fluid in how you're adjusting that. But with that being said, I know there's lots of questions in the Q&A panel, so I'd like to just open it up for more of those.
Sure. You mentioned the sessions being public or private. By public, does that mean all rehearsal customers or just the users enrolled in the
Oh, no,
organization?
it's just, yeah, when we say public, it's your organization. So it's just people that are within your platform. You do not put those public to the entire rehearsal user base.
Perfect. Um, Paul asks, how much effort is needed to train the AI bot effectively?
Not really a lot. Like obviously, like again, I'd probably go back and we tweak a few things on that scenario that we just created. I probably will, after this uh after this webinar. Let's try to remember where we're at. But it doesn't really take too much effort. But obviously, you can iterate on it, which is really nice to then get that nailed down. So you're probably maybe spending like an hour with it to get it, to where you want it to be. And then if, as you get more responses to it, as you start using it more, you'll want to tweak it a bit more, I think. And so it really um, just depends. So.
Okay, another one. This one's a little bit longer. Damien asks, is this something only for call center coaching, or is this something that can be modified for different types of work locations for soft skills? For instance, how to handle a disgruntled patient for de-escalation in a
Hmm.
psychiatric nursing setting, for example?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's really any place that you're going to need to practice like difficult conversation is a really good use case for rehearsal. So again, although we've used the example of like a call center or sales and that kind of situation, you can really use it for just about any situation. So whether that's like leadership coaching, like if you notice, like one of the examples, if you remember back with when I popped up the different options available to you. So there was that pricing conversation, which turned into a QSR attendance situation when I put it into the actual role play. That's on me. But uh, there was also the option of, okay, you're dealing with a patient that doesn't want to take a medicine that's been prescribed to them. How do you handle that from a bedside manner standpoint? Um, and other situations. So like there's a diverse options there. And as we've like launched this tool, we've really tried to like even in our website and things like made sure that we understand that this can be used for a wide variety of use cases. It's not just nailed down to a sales or a call center type use case.
Awesome. The next question, is the coaching and feedback given based on the ICF coaching model or another model that determines conversation effectiveness?
I don't know if I'd have to ask the product team on this to make sure, but I don't think there's a specific model that it's using on the back end for the feedback. I think you can tell it though to within the AI instructions. I think you can tell it to provide feedback in a specific model, um, but I'm not 100% certain on that, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay, Gage is asking, he says, looking for agents to speak to specific scripted talking points. Can those be uploaded and measured against the performance? For example, did they say the right keywords or phrases?
Yeah, you can definitely put keywords and phrases into like the description and look for those. When we have the ability to upload documents, that's going to help that as well to be able to reference that entire script and see how well people are matching that. But right now, you just yeah, you'd upload that either to the description or the AI instructions that hey, you're looking for them to say X, Y, or Z. If they say this, respond this way, those types of things.
And Diane, or Deanne, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, was asking, just wondering, has this been used for training students to improve their soft skills?
I don't know that we've had anybody specifically use it for that, but it definitely would be a good use case for it. Still, because um, you have a lot of people that, a lot of students, either in college or high schools or things like that, that do need to learn how to interact with people. And I think this is a good way to do that. We just, to my knowledge at this point, we don't have any customers currently using it for that.
Cool. Okay. Jason asks, can you speak to what is involved in training the AI LLM with specific content personas, as well as what's involved in testing and validation?
As I guess on that, like as far as what we're doing on the back end for that, or as far as how the customer does that, um, I can't really speak to like exactly what we're doing on the development end on that. I don't work on the development team for this product. A lot of really smart people do. And so, but I can't speak to exactly what they're doing from the learner from the end user end. What's training that AI for that you're inputting is going to be your description and goals. The transcript of this video as well, I believe, gets fed into there, as well as the AI character instructions is going into training that for this particular environment. But as far as the rest of like how the back end is constructed and what's that's feeding into, I can't really speak to that because I'm just not aware.
Okay. I know you spoke about the kind of scoring aspect earlier, but can you speak a little bit more about that, how that works?
As far as the scoring goes, so like if you take a look at, we'll come back here to our history, our progress here, and just kind of show it this way. So as far as like the scoring and how it functions, as you'll notice, like as we receive like a wrap up on these different sessions, actually, let me go into the history here. Take a look at one of these. You'll notice that we receive there's kind of three different options that you'll see on each of these. So you'll either get met, partially met, or not met as part of that. And so it's kind of depending on like, okay, how does the AI feel like you've addressed these different areas? And then those end up, you don't see that quite here, but these do get assigned a kind of a numerical calculation on the back end to where, like in this case, like, okay, you have three goals. If you didn't meet one of these, your grade would be like 66.67%. Um, and so like that calculation kind of breaks down to get to the scoring that you'll see here on the manager dashboard here. Um, so like here we can see, okay, the average score or the score on the different sessions here. This is calculated again based off of the, how they met these different goals here. So like in this case, I met two and partially met the third. It's giving me that 88.3% based off of that. So had I completed, had I met all three goals, that would be 100%. And so there's some calculations going on in the back based off the number of goals and the achievement there.
Okay. Um, Francisco was wondering, does the SCORM need to connect with the rehearsal platform to work, or does it work offline?
No, it's going to connect to the rehearsal platform. So the Swarm file is essentially a wrapper that's then going to call back to rehearsal to get the actual experience.
Okay, and I think you demonstrated this already, but can the user use a virtual background for privacy when they record?
Um, that's not something that's natively built into the platform itself. I actually use a webcam that has that functionality myself. But it is again some that is a feature that we've had requested, so it's something our team is looking into.
Okay, excuse me. Um, okay, this question you already answered. Let me see. It sounds like there needs to be user creation for each person going through the module. Are there user license limitations? I'm guessing for how many avatars you can create.
So not for how many avatars you can create or how many like scenarios, environments you can create. The way that our pricing model works, and I'm not going to get into specific numbers on this, but just to kind of give you an idea of how this breaks down, I would invite you to contact our sales team to get, an actual quote. But if you're interested, but the way that we break our licensing down is it's the number of learners that will be going through the platform on an annual basis. And that's basically saying at least once they're going to be going through a session here within rehearsal role play. But once they get counted that first time, they can go through as many as they like from there. And so that's that's how that all breaks down is it's the number of people that are actually consuming the content, not the amount of content that they are consuming. And then tied to each like those learner tiers, that's a tiered this kind of structure. Uh, a certain number of admins or authors are included with those as well, but additional authors or admins can be added for additional cost as well. So again, for like that whole pricing breakdown, I just recommend contacting our sales team. They're more than happy to help kind of customize a solution for your team.
And David was wondering, what's the supported length of a session? Like, how long of a conversation can you have with the tool?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the max length is. The longest one I've seen is around 15 minutes, which is fairly long. Um, most of them, like average length seems to be around 10 that most people do. I think you can go past that, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to double check with our product team to be sure.
Okay, I have another good question about how does the AI handle responses from English speaking learners that aren't very grammatically correct or are clear?
That is a great question that I do not have an answer for. Obviously, like the way AI works naturally, and I'm not meaning to be offensive in the way that I'm saying this, but it kind of goes, the quality of the input gets you better quality output as well. And so, yeah, if there are some grammatical errors or things like that, I can't fully say that you're going to receive the same like precision that I did on mine. Um, so it would be something you'd probably want to test for your organization first, if that is a requirement for you. But that is also why we include the multilingual support with this. So if you have users that are, Spanish speaking or Dutch speaking or anything like that, you can actually put it in their native language as well. And that helps get around get around some of that need for, having everything be, required to be in English. But again, if they are required to interact in English, again, I'd want to see some, like, we'd want to test that to see for sure.
Okay, another question about this tool's compatibility with Workday as an LMS in particular.
Yeah, I mean, Workday or any other Swarm compatible LMS can take the Swarm package just fine uh, from from Rehearsal, so it would work just fine. If you're looking for like, deeper analytics or something being passed to it beyond what we pass with the Swarm package, um, that'd be another conversation we'd have to see. Uh, but yeah, any Swarm compatible LMS would work just fine with it.
Awesome. Francisco is saying a lot of great things about the tool in this presentation, and he's wondering when this will be available, and perhaps even for testing. He's wondering if you could
Mhm.
provide some role plays that have already been prepared so they can be tested. Is that an option?
We can. Yeah, so Roleplay is available now for anybody that is a rehearsal subscriber. You're welcome to contact your CSM or your sales rep to have it enabled on your platform. We didn't turn it on once it was released for everyone, just based off of, a lot of organizations are still leery around AI, and we didn't want to turn something on for somebody without specific agreements around AI in place. Uh, so, uh, so if you're a rehearsal subscriber or a user in any way, you're welcome to contact us, and we're happy to enable it for you once we make sure that all those things are set in place. If you're looking to, add rehearsal to your organization, we can have that. We're welcome. You're welcome to contact us for a demonstration, and we're happy to then enable that for you on a free trial basis for 30 days. We can include, we are working on including some kind of standard scenarios. I don't believe those are finished yet and available, but we can work something out to get some built in there for you if there is a specific need.
Awesome. And I think we have time for just one more question before we need to wrap up. Um, Aaron asked an interesting one. Would organization-specific language be recognized if it was built into the setup, or would the grading
Mhm.
struggle if it wasn't recognized as like regular spoken words?
So the organization language or the user's language is represented in the platform. But if you notice, like each environment has its own language configuration too. So you'd want to make sure that all those things align to make sure that you're not going to run into any issues that way.
Awesome. I think those are all the questions we have time for at the moment. But I just wanted to thank you all. Did you have any more things you wanted to say, Joshua,
No,
before we
no,
wrap up?
no, we got through everything. So thank you, everyone. Like I appreciate all the questions and the interest here today. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, lots of great feedback from everybody. Um, Thank you all. Thank you, Joshua, first of all, for that
Mhm.
deep dive. It's always great to have one of our own experts show us how these tools come to life. And before you guys head out, first of all, thank you all for joining us and for being so engaging in the chat section. Don't forget about the survey we wanted you guys to take. It takes just 30 seconds. We want to know. Just get some feedback from you. And it's the best way to let us know if you want to know more about rehearsal role play. And while I have you, don't forget to join us next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to kick off our Women's History Month series. The registration link, I just threw it into the chat. We'd love to see you next week too. So thank you guys so much for your participation.